Today we're diving into, well, one of the darkest and most tangled stories you can imagine, the Jeffrey Epstein case. We're talking about staggering wealth, horrific crimes, and a web of power that, goes right to the very top. So to really get this whole thing, we've got to start at the end. It's August 10th, 2019, and the billionaire Jeffrey Epstein is found dead in his cell. And this isn't just any jail. We're talking about one of the most secure facilities in New York. The official story? Suicide. But as you can probably guess, that's where the real questions began. Yeah, that official story, it started to fall apart almost immediately. I mean, get this, the cameras on his cell block suddenly malfunctioning. The two guards who were supposed to be watching him, they fell asleep. And later, they admitted they faked the logs. On top of all that, Epstein had just been taken off suicide watch. You see why so many people started thinking, no way? The theory that took hold was much darker. He wasn't suicidal. He was silenced. Silenced to keep the secrets of some very, very powerful people buried for good. Okay, so to figure out how we even ended up in that jail cell, and more importantly, why so many powerful folks might have wanted him quiet, we need to rewind and look at the man himself. Who was Jeffrey Epstein? His story is frankly this bizarre climb from basically nowhere straight into the inner circles of the global elite. Believe it or not, he started out as a math teacher at this fancy private school. But his real game was Wall Street. He had this crazy talent for numbers, sure, but also for getting in with the right people. He ended up managing the fortunes of absolute titans, like Leslie Wexner, the guy behind Victoria's Secret. And that was the launchpad for his own empire. We're talking mansions, private jets, and the one thing that mattered most, influence. But here's where it gets really, really dark. It's about how he used that wealth. He had all these incredible properties, but none are more infamous than his private island in the Caribbean, a 72-acre spot called Little St. James. Looked like a paradise from the outside, right? But what was really going on there? Well, it was the dead center of his entire criminal operation. People would fly in on his private jet, which got that horrifying nickname, the Lolita Express. And make no mistake, this island was not some luxury getaway. It was a trap, plain and simple. This is where he systematically abused underage girls. The place itself was just weird. It had this strange temple, bizarre statues, even underground tunnels that nobody really knows the purpose of. And cameras. Cameras were everywhere. It sparks that chilling thought. Were they for security or were they for blackmail? And this is really the key to the whole thing. Epstein's true power wasn't just his bank account. It was his Rolodex, his connections. He spent years carefully building this incredible network of the most influential people on the planet. I mean, his infamous little black book and the flight logs from his jet, it's literally a who's who of global power. You've got former President Bill Clinton flying on that jet 26 times. Donald Trump, a friend and neighbor back in the 90s. Prince Andrew of the British royal family, who was accused by a victim, Virginia Giuffre, an accusation that cost him his royal titles. And the list just keeps going. Tech billionaires like Bill Gates, Hollywood celebrities. It's just staggering. Which brings us to the absolutely terrifying question at the heart of all this. When the FBI raided his homes, they found CDs and photos. This just poured gasoline on the fire of suspicion that this wasn't about friendship. You have to ask, was he using everything? The island, the access to these girls, as part of some massive blackmail scheme to control these powerful people. So with that much power, with those kinds of connections, is it any surprise that when the law finally caught up to him, the justice system itself ended up on trial? The whole legal saga is this incredible story of justice being denied, and then, years down the line, being demanded with a vengeance. Just look at this timeline. It is such a long, frustrating road. It all kicked off back in 2005, thanks to the incredible courage of a victim named Courtney Wild who went to the police. But even with dozens more victims coming forward, what happened? In 2008, Epstein gets the secret, sweetheart plea deal that was just unbelievably lenient. A whole decade had to pass. It took a bombshell investigative report in 2018 to finally expose that deal to the world. And that's what led to him getting arrested again in 2019. Let's zoom in on that 2008 deal for a second, because it is just mind-blowing. We're talking about crimes that should have put him away for life. And his sentence? 18 months. He only served 13 of them. And get this, for most of that time, he was on work release. That meant he could leave the jail for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and go to his office. Can you believe that? It wasn't a punishment, it was a slap on the wrist, a total mockery of justice. Okay, now compare those 13 months to what happened to his main accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. She was the one finding and grooming the girls for him. After Epstein died, all eyes turned to her, and in 2022, she was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. 20 years. The contrast between her sentence and the deal her boss got is it's night and day. And for many, her sentence finally felt like something closer to actual justice. But look, Epstein's death, that was not the end of the story. Not even close. In a lot of ways, it was the start of a whole new chapter. And this chapter is all about the Epstein files. We're talking about thousands and thousands of pages of documents from lawsuits and investigations. Documents that could finally tell us who else was involved. Getting these documents out into the open has been a huge fight, pushed by court orders and a ton of public pressure. And we've seen some of them. Thousands of pages have been unsealed, and yeah, they've confirmed a lot of the names we already suspected were in his orbit. But here's the thing, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The number being thrown around is that there could be over 1 million pages still sealed, still hidden away from all of us. So where does that leave us? What have the files really shown us so far? Well, they've absolutely confirmed that all these powerful people were connected to him, but here's what they haven't done. They haven't produced some neat and tidy client list. There's no smoking gun yet that proves who else participated in the abuse. So for right now, the biggest, most important questions are still unanswered, buried somewhere in all those pages we haven't seen. When you step back and look at this whole mess, it leaves you with this really powerful, kind of chilling thought. It proves that money and power, they can bend justice. They can hide the most horrific crimes imaginable for a long, long time, but they can't erase them. Not forever. The truth has this funny way of bubbling to the surface, no matter how long it takes. And with more than 1 million pages still out there, the real question isn't if more secrets are going to come out. It's when.